recording.
All right, I stayed in Whittier, California for 3 years. And this is the little place where I stayed. And there is my luggage when I got ready to go off to this a month or two long, well, more than that. I don't remember now how many, 6 weeks or something, tour of the Middle East and my schooling over there. That's my luggage. If you can see why I put that in there, I don't know. And here we are. We're getting ready to take off. My other camera used to focus. If you see Brother Cross, he was one of the archaeological. He's over to the left with a little hat on, and straight in the far background of the blue shirt, that's Dr. Roy M. Reed. That's the one that preached the infant damnation. If you've got to listen to that, okay. And there was the DC-10 that I flew on across the United States. That thing worked really well. It had to. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. There we are, taking off. And actually, I finally remember what this slide was. It's out of place, but that's the Atlantic. That's the far-reaching Atlantic, and that's what it looked like over the Atlantic. There were storms all over. When we landed, there's Brother Cross right there, and some of the other people. And this 747 was loaded to the hilt, as you can see. And we're going to take off. We landed in Kennedy in New York in an absolute blizzard. When we came into that DC-10, we circled for 2.5 hours. We kept going over the North Pole and coming back, and the North Pole and coming back. They kept trying to clean up the runway there at Kennedy Airport in New York. Finally, they said, we've got to land. We're running out of gas. You know, no more fuel. So they came in, and I had a lot of slides on this as we were landing. The emergency vehicles, the fire trucks were out there, all this kind of stuff. And when we came in, they reversed the thrust on that big engine, and snow flew everywhere. But we came in for a safe landing. Then we got on this 747 here, and do you know who that guy is right there?
You recognize him from somewhere.
Yeah, that's a... And Dr. Burns is behind, right straight behind me.
That's you, Hunter.
Anyway, that's what?
That's you, Hunter.
That's me, yeah. That is really me, okay? That's a long time ago, okay? 1975 and 76, how many years ago?
36 years ago.
36 years ago, okay? Anyway, there we are, loaded up to the hilt in that 747, and they couldn't get the wing flaps out. They couldn't get the flaps to go out at all. They had to get on there and spray antifreeze or something on the wings with a truck out there, with a fire truck, washing the wings down so the flaps would go out so we could take off. And we were the last airplane to take off to Europe, and I don't know how many days. This is the French and the Spanish Alps. And why did I take that picture? Does anybody know? How many of you studied church history with my classes? And these places back there, these inaccessible places and these far-reaching valleys where Baptists hid out for almost 1,500 years. They lived in those deep, deep valleys. Back where nobody lived.
Is that where the Paulicians went?
That's where the Paulicians were. That's where the Waldenses were. The valleys of the what we call the Waldenses, that were called the Anabaptists, where we get our name Baptist today, was from these people. They were hiding from the Catholic Church, so they would go in there and they would live in caves and houses. The houses that they live in were 2-story if they lived them at all. They put the animals in the bottom. The heat from the animals' bodies would come up, and the manure and stuff in the bottom, the heat would rise and help, because they could hardly even burn fires to even cook with, because people would come and kill them. Those deep, deep valleys and mountains. That's over France and Spain. Got a couple of blank ones there. More of the deep valleys. How would you like to live in a desolate area like that just so you could preach the gospel? All right, there's those big flaps that they couldn't hardly get out. We're in Rome, Italy now, coming in for a landing. Alitalia Airlines. That was what we were on. That's I believe Ernest Crawford coming down, Brother Burns is up there, and someplace around there somewhere, maybe I am taking the picture, probably. There we are in Rome, Italy, in the airport there. And they had guns on us from all directions. There was all kinds of revolutions when I was over there in 1975 and 76. All right, let me see what... This is the ancient Appian Highway. That's the Roman road right there. That goes way back before Christ, that road does. All right, this is a... that is a tomb of Cecilia Metallala, whoever that was, in Italy. And that's the pyramid. Of Castello. They took a lot of things in Rome and they would move it all the way from the Middle East. You know that in France, at one time when all of the pyramids of Egypt were covered with alabaster-like glass, and it shone like gold shining. They took, and especially during Bonaparte, during that period of time, they went in and took all of the alabaster off, and they took it to Europe, and they would sell it, and people would make little things to set on their coffee tables and dinner tables and everything else. They took, and of course this pyramid is one of the things that they moved the whole pyramid. All right, you know what that is?
Colosseum.
That's the Colosseum, all right? This is where many, many Christians were killed. Remember, in Rome, the Anabaptists, the early Christians, had to live in underground caves and dungeons, what they called the catacombs. And they took them daily and would turn wild animals loose on them here. And they not only did this here, but they did it in the Middle East. That's what it looked like. And down underneath is where they kept them. There was a floor on top of that. Okay, there was a floor on top of this. How many of you ever seen this?
Is that the stage right there? Is that kind of like,
what?
Is that a stage right there? Or?
A what?
If you put something on top, that would be where they...
Yeah, they had a floor on top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a floor on top. A lot of Baptist Christians died there, right in that place. All right? This is the Arch of Constantine. You know, Constantine the Great, the one that married the church and the state. That's Constantine's arch. And this is Saverio, the Latino Saverio's arch. And how many of you know what that is? That's the Vatican. That's St. Peter's Cathedral. I tell you what, a lot of people were robbed to build that thing. That's all I can say. I mean, there's more gold in there than there is in Fort Knox, I can assure you. And how many of you know what that is?
That looks like a face of Jesus or something.
Huh?
Looks like a face.
Well, it's the face of a kind of a lion, isn't it? How many of you ever heard of this? They take somebody when they were having a court. You know what I'm talking about, Alan? Have you heard? Has anyone seen anything about this? No? That is the fountain of truth. Okay?
Not you. Truth.
Truth. T-R-U-T-H. All right?
Boy.
Now, I don't know how this really worked. Okay? But they would take somebody out there in the square. If he was guilty of, they said he was guilty of robbing or stealing, they'd have him stick his arm in there. If his arm came out, he was telling the truth. If it was left inside, he was lying. Okay? That's the fountain of truth.
That's ridiculous.
No one's ever heard of this before?
No.
All this was something. All right. And this is the Marcello Theater. And how many of you know what this is? Huh? What, Brother Rex, what is it?
You guys that found
Remus and Romulus?
Yeah.
Yeah, the two founders of the Roman Empire, and they were suckered or raised by a she-wolf. you didn't hear this, you haven't heard of this either. This is all mythology and everything, goes way, way back. All right, that's the wolf. There's the two founders of the Roman Empire. All right. This used to focus. All right, this is a very famous statue of who? He's got horns. See up there on top?
He's a devil.
Oh, no, it's not the devil.
Moses, is it?
Who?
Is it Moses?
Moses. All right, this
So
is
he has
that great.
horns.
Yeah, this is that great statue of Moses.
He has horns on Moses?
Huh?
That's
Why does he have
the
horns on
Pantheon,
him?
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's not right,
Anyway,
man.
here, this is a baptistry in the catacombs. Your Baptist ancestors were baptized in this baptistry, and they lived underground like rodents, like rats, and like gophers for hundreds and hundreds of years, so that you can have a Bible today. There we are taking off with that infamous airplane. Remember, how many of you heard me tell the story about the airplane that was leaking oil all the way across the Mediterranean? That's the engine right there. We're taking off, and when we were coming into here, I told you the story where Brother Madden had to kill his best friend in the trenches at Anzio. We went over Anzio Beach. I don't know which one of these beaches is Anzio now. When we were going over, he said, "There's where I killed old Moxie Gumbo." That's where he had to kill him. Anyway, that's that engine that gave me so much trouble. I'm in a little 707 here.
Because he wouldn't shut up in the trench or what?
What?
'Cause he wouldn't.
He was in the trench. They were in there. Brother Madden was like 350 pounds. When he got out of the trench, he weighed 140.
Why
In
did he kill
Anzio.
him?
I mean, they were starving, and they were under shelling, heavy shelling at Anzio. All right, this down there someplace is Anzio. All right, this is the Italian coast. We're coming up in the air, and we're going over the coast here. And I believe that is Greece, if I remember right. And here are the islands in the, Malta is out there, Rhodes, the islands of Rhodes, Crete, Cyprus, all of that. This is all out across the Mediterranean. And that Mediterranean, as you can see, that water is blue. That water is just as blue down there as we are. I think this is the island of Crete, or Cyprus, one or the other. That may be Cyprus there. That engine is leaking oil all the time. Oil is streaming out of the engine. You can't see it as definite now, but right down, do you see those louvers there? You look back there and you will see a stream of oil coming out of that thing. About this time right here, when we first took off of Italy, I called, this was a Arab, it was run by Muslims, okay? They were Muslims, so they don't have any women attendants. They're only men. The man attendant came out there, and I told him, I said, "Do you see that engine?" Now, if I had the little thing to show you. There's a stream of oil coming out of that thing. I mean, it's streaming. And I'm a mechanic, and I said, there's a lot of oil. Maybe how much oil does this thing hold? So I called the flight attendant over there, and I said, "You see that oil streaming out there?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Seeing it going, it was going through the air and everything else. There's a lot of oil to do that. I don't know how many gallons of oil this thing held." But anyway, we were going across over there, and I told him, I said, "You better go tell the captain about that oil." So he went up there, and about an hour or so later, he came back by, and I said, "Did you tell the captain about that engine?" "Oh, I forgot." So he went up there, and he gets the captain. And we're still out over here, over the islands, back in the background back there. I think that's probably Cyprus over there, if I remember right. And back behind that background, now I think that may be Rhodes. And way back over yonder is Turkey. All right, that's Beirut, Lebanon right there. Now, we're going to land in Beirut, Lebanon on an unacceptable emergency landing because we have no oil in the engine. The captain came back there, and I said, "You better go get the captain to show him this engine." So the captain comes back there, this Arab boy, and he scratches his head looking out the window out at that engine like that, and he goes back up in front, and he gets on, and we could hear him on the loudspeaker, and he's talking to Beirut, Lebanon, and they're really having a fight. And he tells them and then he tells us in English, broken, we're going to make an unscheduled landing in Beirut, Lebanon. We need engine oil for the engine. So we're coming here, and I have used illustrations. How many of you ever been in an airplane that's following you with anti-aircraft guns? Have you? Yeah. Oh, you have. Okay. That's what happened right here. There's Beirut, Lebanon now. You don't go to Beirut, Lebanon, by the way. You just steer plumb clear of this place.
It used to be nice, though.
Okay, huh?
It used to be the Paris in the Middle East.
There is the engine oil streaming real good down the line as we're in there. We're coming in now. See the guy out there? The guy is open. He's up on a Jeep with a ladder in the Jeep, going to pour oil in the engine. And we're in Beirut, Lebanon. They follow us in with anti-aircraft rifles. Brother Madden sitting over there. Here's the boy, son, Brother Phillips. You see them rifles down there following us? All kinds of bunkers all around there with anti-aircraft guns. The reason why they were so upset is they were getting ready to have a coup. They were going to kill and shoot down their president's airplane, and we were in the way because he was supposed to be coming in any time. There we are. What?
Did they do it?
I don't remember whether they killed him or not, but they did. We found out a little bit later. Here's all, and if you look out in there, you will see bunkers all over the place. You see the bunkers? In those bunkers are anti-aircraft rifles, and they're following us just as well as they were their president a little bit later. All kinds of guns. Those are bunkers. Beirut, Lebanon. Now we're taking off on the same worn out airplane. That airplane, I was sitting next to the window, and when we take out and when we turn like this and back, the whole wall of the airplane would smash in and hit my seat. Boom, boom. It's like I was in a worn out contraption flying across the Mediterranean and landing in Beirut, Lebanon. You can see the city down there. Now we're coming up. Far over beyond that is Turkey, and this is a little, I think this was called Aleppo in here. Anyway, over that way. Now here are the mountains. Way over there in the background, that's Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat. Those tall, snowy peaks way back over there. Now we're going up and over, and we're going to come back down into Syria, which is another place you don't go today. Now I'm looking down in the cities of Syria, and down below there is Damascus Syria, and Damascus is one of the oldest cities in the world. If you want to think about old cities, Damascus is one of the oldest cities in the world. Supposedly, according to the people of Damascus, the Garden of Eden wasn't far from there. There's a place there where I took a picture. Up on this mountain is where Cain killed Abel.
Wow.
And then later on they said Cain was killed on the same mountain. And that was getting pretty late, as you can see. My other camera would shine bright enough to do this. There's the airport in Damascus, Syria. So we come out there, and you know how most workers in this country or in airports, they have earmuffs on their ears? Okay? I come out here and it looked like Laurel and Hardy movie. All these people had their fingers stuck in their ears like this. Boy, talk about a backward nation. That is a backward nation. And I told you about the wonderful Oriental Palace Hotel where I stayed. We walked in there, and when you would walk on the carpets that were probably 500 years old, dust would fly from the ground. I don't know whether they knew what a vacuum
Is this the
cleaner
one
was
with the
or not.
bathroom that had the bad water and everything?
This is where the water ran all the time in the bathroom. The water was just running all the time, and in across the ceiling would be 220 wires and a light bulb hanging down that you turn. And here the wires are open. You have to be real careful turning the thing on and off. Anyway, this is the waiting room, whatever you want to call it. And behind there was the dining room. This is where Brother Madden, you know, we had that dinner that supposedly Abraham fed the angels, and when they brought it out, it started looking real good. Then they started putting this camel yogurt gravy on it and everything else. He said, "Boy, you done ruined it." And he took his plate, set it on the floor, and said, "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty." I said, "Brother Madden, you're going to get us killed." And there Brother Madden is sitting right there. You can see how big he was. He's sitting right there, and there's a guy that weighed 140 pounds in the Anvil when he came out. That was his skin and bone. All right, behind that is where the, now, most of my films of Syria were lost. When I had them developed, they lost a lot of them, so I don't have a lot of the ones. Here's the infamous bedroom. This is where we went in there. Do you see how dirty the wall is?
That's dirt? I thought
That's dirt on the
I
wall.
thought that was just a
That
shadow.
is not a shed, that is dirt. Okay? And if you can look, as you come down through here, there's a light bulb hanging down here with the 220 wires on it, and they're all frayed and everything. Okay?
220 wires.
This is the Oriental pallet. 220.
220?
220.
Oh, wow.
They run 220 overseas, almost all over. Well, anyway, as you can see, the old heater was leaking there, if it ever worked at all. And outside was horns honking 24 hours a day. They would get out there, and when they come to the intersection, they don't have street lights or stop lights. The guy that blows his horn first has got the right of way. Believe it or not. Okay?
That's crazy. Just chaos.
And when I got in there, when
How
we
would
walked
you go
into the
first?
place, here the bed was out there with all these things over it, and I walked over to the bed, and I hit the bed like this, and dust just flew. And I walked into the bathroom, which I had a picture of originally, but in the bathroom it had real, now this place is probably 300 or 400 years old, okay? In the bathroom was beautiful tile floor, but you couldn't see it for the dirt. And I had Tide with me, and I don't like living in filth, okay? I went in there, Brother Madden was in there, and I got down, I got some rags, they had some towels in there, and I put this Tide over to the toilet and over to the bathtub, and I sprayed it down there. I got down and was scrubbing the floor, you know, I wanted to have some clean place. He said, "Boy," he said, "that filth and germs are 2,000 years old, you're just liable to die with it."
Matt.
He said, that Matt.
He's always doing something wrong.
Oh, there he is there, taking pictures out in the streets of Damascus. Of course, you can't go here today. We shouldn't have been there then. Now out there, they make use of everything. Like you have bottles and things here. There's a lot of, at that time there were a lot of tourists that went in here. Jackie Kennedy used to come here to Damascus, Syria to do her shopping. I'm going to show you this great big bazaar where the Azum family, or what they call the Azum Palace and Bazaar, where the family lived in this palace. I'm going to show you, they lived in it for 350 years. One of the mosques here that's built in here was built in 705 AD. 705 AD, so some of this is very old. The furniture that is in here, I'm going to sit on this one throne. You'll see me sitting on the throne. The throne is 500 years old. It's furniture in that throne room. Anyway, there's the glass. And we're going to go in here and they're blowing glass. This is real fancy for them, you know. These are glass blowers. And they do make beautiful glass work and tapestries. There's tapestries right there. Some of the most beautiful tapestries in the world. You can see the girls with their 70s hairdo. See?
Beehive hairdo. Not good.
Yeah. And there is a silver and copper smith right there.
It's like a mafia man.
And they're painting all types of, they take great pride in all of their detail. But most everybody over there is poor. The rich are very rich, but the poor, most everybody, like 80% of the people or 90% of the people are poor. It's getting like it is in America today. This is a mosque that was built in 705. Okay, this is the courtyard. At one time, when the Christians were fighting back and forth, of course, you call the Christians back then, they weren't Christians at all. That was Catholicism. Okay, the Catholics and the Arabs would run back and forth, and they'd fight all the way across Europe and the Middle East and the Mediterranean, and fight all the way back. And they'd conquer here, they'd conquer for a while, and then the Arabs would take over for a while, or the Turks, or whatever you want to call them, the Muslims. They'd take over, and then the Christians would go back, they'd get a bunch of forces, and then meanwhile, everybody's been getting killed. At one time here, the Christians came in here and killed 1,500 Muslims in this mosque. They killed 1,500 people there. There I am standing. See there, I really was young one time, believe it or not.
It's quite different.
And here, well, we didn't know what an Arab looked like back in those days. We didn't have- So I took up a picture of a Muslim girl and man. Now you can go any place, you can't go anywhere. You can't walk down the street without seeing them now. But back then that was unusual. And there's the street called Straight, part of the street called Straight, and it's part of the bazaar, what they call the Azum Bazaar. Isn't that a... And look at the wiring. Look at the wiring. All of the wiring is just wires running, just all over. No border at all. The guy goes out there and he fixes his wire, next guy fixes his own wire, and he fixes his own wire. This is where Jackie Kennedy would go. There's, look at the wires. I took a picture of that. Going from apartment to apartment. Okay.
How would that shorten the rain and stuff?
Well, it does.
Yeah?
Yeah, sparks fly all the time over there. Sparks flew in my bedroom. One night we were in there, and of course, you know, I mean, they think their water's all right, but you see people on the side of the road, they're throwing up all over, they've got dysentery. I mean, everybody's sick over there with the water and stuff. And by the way, I'm going to show you the river where the guy, remember the guy came to Elijah, and he asked him to cure him of leprosy? Mm-hmm. All right, he said, and he told him to go dip himself 7 times in the muddy Jordan River. He said, I got clean water over here in Damascus where I came from. All right. Anyway, this is a street called Straight, and there's bazaars. And by the way, they cook over there with diesel. What? Back then, if they have a 5-gallon or 10-gallon bucket up here with a little drip in it, and they drip it down on this stone, and they just light it on fire, and they're cooking all their food. Everything you eat in Damascus, Syria, tastes like diesel.
Oh my gosh.
Even Coca-Cola.
Diesel flavored Coca-Cola?
Yes. I'm telling you, it's pitiful.
I can't wait to get over there.
You just can't wait to go there, can you? All right. There, I mean, it's backward country. There you go. You can see how old this street is. Okay? Look, that has probably been there like that for 1,500 years, okay? This is a palace. This is the Azum Palace. This family lived in this palace for 350 years. That family did. Of course, they were rich. Everybody else is servants and slaves, okay? Remember who started the first slavery? Who started the first slavery?
Cain.
Huh? Cain did. When God cursed the ground, he went out and went into the land of wandering, and he captured himself some people and made slaves out of them. He said, look here, Lord, you may curse the ground, but I'll have 10 people working for me. And that's what happened. And this is where all of this was populated. The Syrians say that Noah gave Zeth the land of Syria.
Substitute.
Okay? Zeth. Gave Zeth the land of Syria. By the way, who Laban, all of them, it says they were basically Syrians. This is that fancy, beautiful palace, okay, inside here. Now, everybody else was living in abject poverty, and here we got the palace. And it's been that way for a little while here in America. We have presidents, and we have representatives, and we have senators. You go back in the 17 and 1800s. Maryland has a dinner that they did for, I think, President Grant, or he was General Grant back then, and all the foods that they had for him, all the fancy food, while everybody's starving to death. They had about 10 main courses. There's Brother Burns. That was one of my really good friends. And all the fountains around there. By the way, it's quite unusual over there. You begin to see this here in this country now, but girls over there, they'll hold hands and walk down the street together. You see boys and girls holding hands here, and men and women holding hands over there. You never see a man and a woman holding hands over there, very seldom. It's the girls holding hands with girls and the boys holding hands with boys. They'll have their arms around each other going down the street. The girls are probably, most of the time, are wives of the same man. So they're kind of like sisters. Now, in those palaces there, they have running water. Why would they have running water inside in a fountain like this? You know?
For like a baptism or something? Like it's living water? So it'll be living?
No.
It's running?
Why did they do that? That's the earliest form of air conditioning.
Oh, swamp cooler?
That's the earliest form of air conditioning. Right there. Cool water running in there, cooling the room off. And they're very rich, by the way. You talk about Rebecca, and you talk about Isaac, and all of that. This is the way most of them travel. Do you see what that is?
Camel.
That's a camel with a great big fancy, like a, you have RVing and you have motorhomes today. That was an ancient motorhome right there. And that goes back, I think they said that thing was 1,000 years old. This is where they would heat the room, all right? They had, that was a heater. They put coals in there. This is a palace inside that Aslan palace. And even the ceiling is painted with gold. Real gold. That's what it's called, gold. Now, what they do over there, they do it just like it was 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. Nothing different. They haven't changed. They don't want to do anything different than Mohammed did in 600. And this is a loom, a silk loom, just like they had looms back in 1000 AD or whatever. There it is. Some of the finest silk tapestries and everything in the world are there. Like I said, Jackie Kennedy used to go over there. A lot of the rich people would go and shop in this mall or bazaar there.
Did they charge a lot too, or was it expensive at the time?
Well, not really.
So good deal.
Some of the stuff was pretty high. They shipped. Brother Burns was fairly wealthy, and he shipped a lot of stuff back home, and he bought a lot of inlay. There's the street called Straight also. This is the street called Straight that Paul was on, okay? The Apostle Paul. Remember what happened to Paul when he was on the way to there was a church in Damascus, wasn't there? There were Christians in Damascus, and he was on the way to Damascus to kill the Christians. And, you know, the earliest persecutors of Christianity were the Jews. All right? And he was on the way there to kill the Christians, and God struck him down, didn't he? The Lord spoke to him, Jesus himself. And he said, "Who art thou, Lord?" And he said, "Jesus, whom you persecute." All right? This is Paul's window. This is supposed to be the place where they let Paul down the window, out the window in a basket to get away when they were going to kill him, remember? That's called Paul's window. This is a this is a convent up on top of the mountain there in Syria. All right, there's this another street in Syria there.
That's you, Jim.
No, that's not me. There's another. That is a Roman arch at the end of the street called Straight. All right there's the Roman arch again.
That thing's old.
Well, that goes back to the Roman times.
There's not any rebar in it either.
That's in, you know, right at 0 AD. Okay? This is the old place. This is the oldest city in the world. Continuously. Now see, there in many of the places they're riding horses still, and of course they, over there, you know what the Shah of Iran, you know what his, and even what was the last one they killed over there and hung him?
Saddam?
Who?
Saddam?
Of Iraq?
Saddam Hussein?
Yeah, Saddam Hussein. You know what his favorite? He had a bunch of Packard cars. They like American cars. And of course there you see American cars all over the place. And they drive over there, like I said, whoever comes to the intersection and blows their horn fast, the one that's got the loudest horn has got the right of way. And boy, I mean, it is dangerous. As you can see, there's cars driving on the sidewalk.
Yeah, right there by the
Right on the sidewalk. And you're on the sidewalk walking, and here comes a car. You got to be ready to jump at any time. They don't have any traffic rules. I don't know if they even know. I don't know what they know how to drive too well. They just herd cars. They don't drive them. Yeah, there's your Chevy right there. That's fancy, boy. And of course, now that was a 75. I think it was 1975 when I was here. Anyway, there's a 57 Chevy. Boy, that was a hot car to have over there. But you can see how the average populace live, and they live out in the country still. Now that's the river right there. That's the river. On the other side of that fence is the river where Naaman came over there and wanted to be healed from leprosy. All right, that's the river, the clean water that he could bathe in instead of that muddy Jordan. And that's a medical center back there. And here we are, they're changing the flat on the sidewalk. Got out of the traffic, pull up on the sidewalk and start changing the tire. And there we have a donkey going down the street. By the way, the donkeys and things over there are what we call super domesticated. The donkeys that we have here in America are what they call wild asses. They're wild. They are not tamed. Those over there, they've been domesticated for thousands of years, and they have not been turned loose to inbreed and things like most of the donkeys that we have, and the wild donkeys in Torona and Death Valley and whatever. They are wild and they have been inbred and they're cantankerous. And back in the background, this didn't focus too well. But if you look back there well enough, you're going to see 3 bodies hanging. That's the courthouse. And there are 3 bodies hanging there because somebody broke the law. They took them out in front of the courthouse, they hung them, and they left them there until they rot so bad. Then they take them and dump them in the garbage dump. And here, they say, is the church where Paul went and was baptized, in Ananias' house, okay? The house of Ananias. This is where Ananias was, and the church met in his house. And that's supposed to be it. I tell you what, it's so old that it probably was the place where Ananias. Do you see Paul in the basket? Do you see Paul in the little painting up there, Paul in the basket? And of course that's Brother Madden there. And there's where you go into Ananias' house. And you can see those houses over there. Here's a palace, the Azum Palace. And then it goes into this mosque that was built in 705 AD. Now this is where they say they got John the Baptist's head. And they put his head out there in this burial tomb. That's supposed to be where his head is buried, right out there in the middle.
Really?
Yep. They thought that John, you know, the Muslims think John the Baptist is a prophet also. So all the prophets are to be venerated by them. There I am sitting on a 500-year-old throne. Okay? With gold and silver and mother of pearl and everything inlaid. All the furniture in that room is at least 500 years old. Okay? These are the girls again. We're in that area, in this palace. By the way, the carpets on the floor there are at least 2,000 years old. The carpets are. How many of you walked on 2,000-year-old carpets? And there's another fountain in there that cools the room. And there's a well in the middle of the house, so they don't have to go outside. And that's the end of that group. Could somebody turn the light on for just a minute? Maybe I swap these carousels real quick. I don't know how far I'll get with them. All right.
Doing the first quarter up there. You say eight?
All right. This is very interesting. All right.
Hard to read some.
Can you turn the lights back on?
You lazy?
This is supposed to be the Brook Jabbok. The Brook Jabbok. All right. The little Brook Jabbok. Coming down through here. What happened at the Brook Jabbok? Anybody remember what happened at the Brook Jabbok?
That's probably a rock structure. Dried up.
What?
Dried up.
No. What happened at the Brook Jabbok? That's where Jacob went when he was going to meet Esau. And remember, he wrestled with Jehovah all night long. And he called the name of the place the face of Jehovah. All right?
Hey, look at that.
The face of Jehovah.
Now, Jim, let me ask you this. Now, the Babylonians, like 500 years before Christ, when they came and they...
Oh, yeah, then way back yonder.
Okay, so did the Magi, did he bow down to Christ when he was born?
Yeah,
He did.
the Magi did. Yes, they came then. The Magi were the magistrates, you know. They were the big shots over there.
And that was a big deal because he was significant, and for him to bow down meant a lot,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Can you, when you get your goodies there, if you can flip the light, can you get your goodies and flip the light too?
Oh, no, he changed later. Cain wrote still living there. Wandering that land right now.
Brett? All right, now this is quite a history lesson right here. You know what these things are down there? You know what this is? Anybody know what this is?
I do, but
That's
I
the
won't
king.
say.
No, don't you say anything, Mary. Don't you dare say anything. Does anybody know? This is the Brook Jabbok. This is where they say that Jacob wrestled with Jehovah all night long. This is the Brook Jabbok, okay? This is what they say. Right here is the place, or near here. Do you know what this is?
Yeah.
Those are, Marilyn. These are sheepfolds. Remember when Jesus talked about the sheepfolds, the parable of the good shepherd and all that? We have two Psalm 23s in the Bible, Psalm 23 and John the 10th chapter. All right? And here, the shepherd lives with his sheep. Here are the sheep in there, and there is a fence here. They make the fence out of stones and they grow thorns on it. They make it out of stones and they grow thorns on the fence. They put the sheep in there, and here's the door. And they put that in, and this is where the shepherd sleeps, right there in the door of the sheepfold. And anything that comes in after the sheep, it's got to go through him. Now, the rest of his family is living back here in tents. These black tents are the ancient tents that they make out of goat hair, the black hair tents. And this is modern tent material there. That's like canvas. And look here, here's the old tent material, and then you can see some of the modern tent material. But this is a the sheepfolds right here. And of course, they're down here right on the creek, right on the brook, so their sheep can get water. But they have to take and make a pond out there because the sheep won't drink out of running water. They have to have a steel pond. So they will get a pond, and they will have a little pond in there where the sheep will drink. They will take the running water and put it in the pond because the sheep are afraid of running water. Okay? That's a little bit. Nobody's ever seen a sheepfold. These people still live like that. Well, in 1975 and 76, they still live like that. Many of those Arabs out there, they'd go to towns, but this is the way they live, out in the deserts and the hills. And they had to follow the grass. So the movie Grass that I have, you can see what they were doing. They were following grass, okay? There's another picture of it. You can see this one a little bit better. Do you see where the old tents are and then the modern tent material? But that is a sheepfold. Those are sheep in there and goats. And that's supposedly where Jacob wrestled with Jehovah all night long. What happened to Jacob? Huh? Okay, he got crippled. This is where Jacob was crippled. He went on to meet Esau, and everything turned out okay. But he was scared to death. And then when he left this place, Jacob had to trust God because now he couldn't even run from Esau. And here are some of the sheep over there in the fields. There's the towns and settlements. See, everybody lives in the town over there, basically, and then they go out and farm because the towns have security, and they'll travel with their animals way out to the farmland, but everybody lives in the city. It's different than here. Farmers live on the farms here. But over there, the farmers live in town and they go out to the farms. They don't have to import any rocks in that country at all. There's rocks everywhere. I've heard people say that, oh, they got all the rocks, they're going to ship them in to do this and ship them in to do that. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. This is Gerash. When Jesus healed the Gadarene demoniac, the Gadarene demoniac had lived in Gerash. And this is called the cities of Decapolis. What does Decapolis mean? Decapolis. Huh? 10 cities. All right, the 10 cities. These are the 10 cities.
They went to the west, weren't they?
Yeah. These cities, this is on the other side of Jordan now. This is in Jordan. We're still in Jordan, which you can't travel around in Jordan still much today. This is where they killed a lot of missionaries and stuff over in this country. If you're a Christian in this country, you cannot pray when you eat. Do you hear what I said? If you're a Christian in this country, you cannot say the name of Christ, nor can you pray when you eat. You cannot show any outward signs. Well, same thing in Syria. We've been in Lebanon, we've been in Syria, and now we're in Jordan, okay? In none of these countries can you pray at dinner time.
How could they stop you?
What?
How could they stop you?
You see those guys that were hanging there at the palace a while ago? That's how they stop you.
But how would they know if you're doing it or not? Like, I could just sit here and pray, they wouldn't know.
They know. They pray and they have their Muslim caller 5 times a day. And you'll hear him go,
I pray more than that. I probably pray 20.
But I mean, they'll call them to prayer 5 times a day. But if you're a Christian, even back then, you could not pray over your meal. Not in these countries.
I'd leave.
We came to the Jordan River, and you saw Brother Crawford a while ago. Brother Crawford got up and started singing, crossing over Jordan. And Brother Cross grabbed him by the arm and he said, "Sit down and shut up if you want to stay alive." I mean, you may be a Christian, you better shut your mouth if you're a Christian. That's the way it is. We talk about religious liberty. Whatever country that is a state religion. That's religious liberty for that group, if you're a part of that state, but nothing else. In America, the cults grew over here like wildfire because we had so-called religious liberty. In America, in the beginning, every state had a state church, and your taxes on your property, you were never supposed to have income tax, but your tax on your property, whatever property you have. If you weren't a property owner, you didn't pay any taxes. But if you paid taxes on your property, they took 10% of that, and it supported the state church and pastors in whatever state you lived in America. Anyway, this is one of the ancient Roman roads. I went down here, they had me busy reading all of those columns, what it said in Greek on those columns. And around there, you could see it. And down to the middle there, do you see the deep creases in there? Those are chariot wheels, where the chariot wheels ran. That's an ancient city. This goes back way before Christ. When the Gadarene demoniac went in here, they built a church in every city. He was such a missionary in the early time that there were many cities in Jerash, or many churches in the cities of Jerash. And this is one of the Byzantine churches, the church forward. I cannot remember what that is. I think it is a baptistry that goes all the way back to the time of the Gadarene demoniac. If I remember right, that's what it was, but I can't tell you for sure. And this is an underground church. This is the church where they met. And this is the Colosseum. The temple of Jupiter and Zeus and they had all kinds of temples here. And by the way, this is also out here is where they turned wild looses and the gladiators after the Christians. This is where a lot of blood flowed. See the Colosseum? See the Roman road? This was a very rich area at one time. You can see the chariot wheels, the grooves and chariot wheels a lot easier now. That's all stone. All those were markets on the side there, and they have inscriptions where the markets were. Here is one of the big Colosseums where they killed Christians. There they're singing Gregorian chants, I believe. And here is Petra. All right. Now all of these slides won't go down. They're kind of crippled and everything, but we can get some of them. All right. There's the entrance where you're going in there.
Department of Antiquities, is that what it says?
The Department of Antiquities. All right, here's how you go in there. You go in there on horseback. Okay, this is some of the... Now, these buildings are not built of stone. They're not built out of stone. They're built by carving the mountain. Okay? By the way, why is Petra so interesting?
That's where all the Jews are supposed to go, right?
This is where the Jews are supposed to go when the Antichrist gets after them. This is where the Lord is going to protect them. By the way, this was Edom. This is what they call the Edomites. This is Edom's territory. All right? They're going to go down there, and this ancient city has not been occupied, as you can see. This was like New York City at one time.
This is a
And
lost trade route.
God cursed it and said they would no longer be there. What?
That was a lost trade route they found?
Yeah, this was a lost trade route. And they didn't know the city even existed. They thought it was a fairy tale. There you are going in on horseback into the city. All
There's
right.
Petra.
There is, I think, the El Cosmet. By the way, did you ever see this in any movie?
You got Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Except you can walk inside it when the movie...
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's movies.
Right.
In there you can see where they offered babies and stuff. You can see all of that. And you can see here, now they carved these buildings out of stone. They were not built of stone, they were carved from stone. Now they call this the treasury. And they say this is where Pharaoh kept his money, but actually this was after the Pharaoh of the Exodus. When we went here, I have shown you some pictures. Otherwise, I've lost the slides. But there is a dwelling place. There is a city there that goes back before Moses came through here. So that little city was there when Moses came here. But this was not here when Moses left. They say the Egyptian legend is that Pharaoh of the Exodus, that he came down and put all his money in this treasury right here. And he built the city, but we know that that's not correct. I don't know whether we can even see some of these or not. I might be able to push some of them down in there. All right, there's some of the deep valleys in there. This is where God will protect Israel.
So why did Moses have horns on him?
Well, that was just Michelangelo. Here's some more of the...
It's bugging me. Michelangelo.
All right, there's another picture of the treasury there. I believe one of the buildings. See the narrowness of coming into that area? That's why you could stand on top of those mountains up there, and you could defend that with a rock. Just drop rocks on somebody trying to come in. You wouldn't have to have ammunition. See how they carve these buildings out of stone. There's another picture of it. It's really beautiful. The Red Rock City of Petra.
How long ago did they find Petra?
I can't remember. Now that's what you see when you come in there. You see this building when you come into those narrow... I can't remember what it was. I think in the 20s or 30s, somewhere back there. They thought this was a mythical city. They said no city this big could ever go away. It couldn't have disappeared, but it did. This is some of the blocks that are falling down in there. This is one of the things that I really enjoy. There you can see another view of it.
Well, what did they do with that? They just carved it out. Was it just for looks or what? I mean, why did they?
Well, that was a city. This was New York City of the day. You don't see anybody there right now because God cursed that place. But right, that was the trade route. And see, they would go through the trade route, but then they just went around. Here's the Moabites up here. Remember what Moab means?
Yeah.
All right, that's
semen from the father.
yeah. This is Lot's descendants, okay? And of course, these are Lot's descendants up here. Moab, and then we have Edom and Petra down here. But you see how the trade route changed? They just went around it. And Petra died. It was a very rich city. And one of the reasons why God cursed Edom or Petra, you don't remember why? When Moses came out of there with the children of Israel, they wouldn't give them anything to eat and wouldn't let them rest in the land. They wouldn't give them help. So God cursed them over that. All right, there's camels loaded up out there in their military. All right, this is still in Jordan. Or Arabia. This is Arabia coming back. Do you see the camels loaded up out there? They got loads on their back sitting down. All right, this is down in the deep valley.
It's raining.
And it's raining over there a lot.
Did you say they collect the water on the roof?
Oh, on the roof, yeah. This is about where Zacchaeus. This was just about the place where Zacchaeus was in the tree when Jesus walked by. They say this is Zacchaeus' tree, and this is in Jericho. Zacchaeus, what was he? He was a tax collector. Tax collector. All right. There are 3 Jerichos. 3 Jerichos. And there's all 3 Jerichos. Anyway, this is the deal here. And You see them little Arab kids there? You see the little Arab boys?
Yeah.
They'll come up and hug you and steal everything in your pockets. Brother Madden out here. Now, I mean, tell you, they're stealing, boy. These kids come just zooming at you and they start stealing everything they can lay hands on. When we came in here, they told us take needle and thread and sew your pockets shut. And put everything valuable in your pockets and
That's
sew
what
them
the Jews
shut.
do,
Huh? Well, they'll reach up here in your pocket, put a flower in your pocket, and take everything you got in the pocket out, and you'll never know it. They are trained by their parents to steal. Their parents will take them and break their arms and break their legs and poke their eyes out and set them out on the side of the road and make beggars out of them.
That's right.
They do.
That's
And they say, do not give them any money. Don't do anything. Otherwise, you'll be causing more children to be maimed like this and to be thieves. We won't go much further here. I'm going to turn you loose.
They do that a lot in India.
Huh? Yeah, they do it in India. Anyway, this is Jericho. Jericho is a beautiful plain. There's the Jordan River.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Now, I don't have the pictures when I crossed over Jordan. A lot of the places where you are here, they will not let you take pictures. So you have to buy their pictures. When I was in Italy, I had to buy pictures because they wouldn't let me take pictures. They almost took my camera from me. Because I took the pictures of those soldiers in there in Rome, they almost took my camera away. I had to hide it. This is there by Qumran. This is up by Qumran, and the Qumran and Jericho aren't very far apart. This is part of another Jericho. And there is remember where Elijah took and threw the water, or threw the tree into the water and made the water sweet? Now that's supposedly the place where he did it. And how many of you know what that is? We'll quit right here pretty quick.
I think it's a well. I don't know.
I do.
Maryland. Be quiet.
Tell me, really.
You know what this is? That is the walls of Jericho when Joshua went around Jericho and went around it how many times?
7.
And they blew the trumpets and they shouted and the walls fell down. The walls did not crumble. The walls went straight down into the ground. Straight down into the ground, and there they are still standing, but they're in the ground. The ground swallowed the walls of Jericho up, woof, just like that. The walls fell straight down into the ground. They said that's really weird because the walls are still built. They didn't come apart, but they're in the ground. That's the walls of Jericho. Did you know that?
That's pretty cool. Makes it kind of hard to repeat.
All right. And they built cities on top of cities. But that's the walls of Jericho. Those are the walls of Jericho when Joshua walked around the city. There's tales all around here and excavations everywhere. We got to go into places like this that nobody else didn't get to go into at that time. But by the way, when we were up there by the walls of Jericho, we heard bullets flying by us. Wing, wing, wing. And boom, boom, boom all over the place. We were in the middle of battles. But we were there. There's Ernest Crawford and me, there at one of the Jerichos. All right. Now we hear about all the wonderful things that the Jews are doing over there. When the Jews came into this area, they took all of the Palestinians, and you know what a concentration camp is?
Oh, yeah.
That's a Palestinian concentration camp. You will never hear this on the news. But that is a Palestinian concentration camp right there. That's not too far from Jericho. They talk about the Jewish concentration camp, that's the Palestinian concentration camp. These are the Qumran caves. They're all over the mountains. The oldest Bibles in the world that we have are here, except Samaria. These are the homes where the Essenes and the Qumranians live. This occupation goes back to probably at least 1000 BC. 1000 BC. Now, what was the most commonly copied book here at the Dead Sea Scrolls? What was the book that was copied more than any other book?
James?
What?
No, no, it wasn't that. It was, I know this one.
Oh, no, Marilyn, no, you can't talk yet. The Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch was the most
I wouldn't
popular.
have guessed it right.
They have a Book of Enoch, what they call the Damascus Scroll. Somebody came and discovered these caves about 1000 AD.
How about Isaiah?
You'll no. The scroll of Isaiah. I'm going to show you part of that in a little bit. Somebody discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves about 1000 AD. He got some of them and took them down into Egypt and sold some of them in Egypt. Some of them went, and he said he was from Damascus, Syria. And so they called it the Damascus Scroll. All right? Anyway, this is part of it. And then he died or got killed or something or other. He never went back. And then in 1940, was it 47 when they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls again. These are their original dwelling places. John the Baptist was here, so was Jesus. They went by here, they preached to these people. They say the book of Hebrews may have been written for these people right here because they did not want to lay down the law. This is their eating places. This is all excavation at this time. There's the Dead Sea in the background. Cisterns, granaries, all kinds of stuff were here where these people lived. They baptized each other daily. They did a lot of baptizing. These people would have nothing to do with the Pharisees and the scribes of Jerusalem at all. They said they were all nothing but a bunch of no good heretics. And they had twisted up the Word of God. This is a large, this is a church room is what this is. This is where they would hold their church services. And they would read the scrolls. They believed in a lot of eschatology. They thought the Lord was coming back at any moment back then. There's famous caves right there. That's where they found, or that's where the little boy found all the caves, or the scrolls at that time. They used some of them to put inside of shoes for to have had shoes with these ancient scrolls. These scrolls, some of them went back, they think, all the way back to 1000 BC. They do not know how old, how many occupations of these religious sects lived here. They call some of them the Qumranians and some of them the Essenes. Okay? That is a baptistry. As you can see, they did not sprinkle. They dipped. And as the water level would go down, they just go down deeper into baptistry. That's what you call a graduated baptistry. And in Jerusalem, this is the place where they keep the Dead Sea Scrolls. All right? That's the dome of the scroll. And there are some of the scrolls there. We went in there. They wouldn't let us take any pictures in here either. I had to buy each slide.
Well, I think the flash can mess them up too.
Well, they make money that way. There's where the fragments of the scrolls, and that's the one big scroll there that you can walk around and read it. How many of you know what that is? And this would be the last, I think, about the last time we'll quit right here. How many of you know what is it?
Masada.
Masada. That's Masada. What was it?
Roman.
The Roman legions. That's where the Roman legion camp was. It's still all there. You know what this is? That's the ramp that they laid siege to, and they built that ramp going up there. How many of you know the story of this? You know the story. Tell us a little bit about it, Dave.
Oh. Herod built that.
Yeah.
It was his
Herod's
palace.
fortress palace, yeah.
And so where he did
There was,
away.
by the way, Herod built a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Herod the Great built a lot of stuff. He was a great builder.
Well,
Okay.
it was abandoned in the time, in this period. I don't know if it was like 70 or 80,
This
60,
was about
80.
70, in the 80s,
80.
70s.
And they were part of the Jewish rebellion,
Yes.
and they scooted
Some of
out.
these were Essenes. Some of the Essenes were here, and they went out here, and there was a lot of water in here. There's big cisterns, great big granaries in here. They could have stayed in there for years. called it Herod's Fortress also.
It was a palace at that
It was a
time.
palace, yeah.
So
And I got
they
some-
hid out and they to stay away from the Romans. The Romans encircled it, and they were there a couple of years until they figured out how they were going to get up in there and get them, and
So
they
they
built
started-
that ramp.
So they started building this ramp to take their war machines up there. And as they were up here, when they'd kill a Roman soldier, remember what they do down here at the bottom? They take like 5 or 10 Jews and behead them or stab them. Every time they kill one Roman soldier, they kill 10 Jews down here below. Okay, so there's a lot of fighting going on right here. Finally, after a long time, when they got ready to go in there, what happened?
They all committed suicide.
They all committed suicide. And now the Jews say never another Masada, but I got news for you. There's going to be another one. And that's when the Antichrist, after they accept their wonderful Antichrist and build their temple in Jerusalem, that Antichrist is going to turn them in the middle of the week. And there's going to be 2 out of every 3 Jews die there. Yeah, there's been another Masada. They will have Masadas and persecution until they accept the one that came in the name of the Lord. All right. Anyway, that was for the Roman Legion. What's the 10th Roman Legion? I think it was. It was down here. Was it the 10th Roman Legion? Can't remember. Anyway, that's where they went. That's Masada. That's down by the Dead Sea. All of this, the Qumrans and all this. I have another picture also of it. There's looking up to it. There's still a lot of camels and stuff over there. Well, in that time there were. That's the top of it. That's sea level coming up to Jerusalem. That's the sign that says sea level. From there it says sea level. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on the earth. Okay? The lowest point on the earth.
It's interesting.
And that's Bethany. That's Bethany right there. And that's Lazarus' tomb and the Good Samaritan Inn. Now, you can see this over there today. Some of this stuff you can't. Anyway, we'll quit right there, and do you want me to show some more of these next week?
Yes.
You like that?
Yes.
Okay, I'll continue. We might be able to get through all of them next week. I don't know. Whatever, we'll go. Are you learning a little something this is? The Bible's been a little more real to you? All right. Well, let's turn the lights on, and we'll have a prayer, and I'll turn you loose on the world. Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Who wants to do the prayer thing? You want to do the prayer thing?
Okay, unless Brett does.
Brett
Brett, do it.
Do what?
You want to do the prayer deal?
Where's it at?
We don't have one.
No,
We're just
just
going to
say
do
closing prayer.
it. Closing prayer.
Oh, okay.
Keep everyone in mind.
I forget everybody yesterday. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for this great day and this great